This is ACOFAE. Laura Marie and Jessica Marie proudly present A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, a podcast. Fair warning, everything the hosts say is explicit, full of spoilers and adult content and shall not be used against them. They have opinions. Let's try not to drag anyone for expressing themselves and just have fun for an hour. We all deserve it.
This episode contains spoilers from Kingdom of Ash with mentions of Moulin Rouge, The Great, Sex and the City, and The Magicians. There are also discussions surrounding EDs, fatphobia, sexual assault, and death of a parent.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to A Court of Fandoms and Exploration, your weekly deep dive into the YA literature and fandoms that we love. I'm Laura Marie.
And I'm Jessica Marie.
And today we are discussing the 1998, we'll call this a reimagining of Cinderella. This is Ever After.
This, as most people should know, is starring Drew Barrymore and Angelica Houston. It's not even, I feel like they have the same amount of screen time. No?
Yeah.
It's pretty equal, yeah.
Yeah, actually, now that you say that, yeah, maybe she has a little less, but like she is a star, right? Like if we have to pick who the big stars are here, like she's a big one.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's just both of them. They're like the leading. I feel like they were the two main people casted, and then everything else kind of fell into place. And even at this time, 1998, I mean, obviously Drew has been a star since she was a child, and Angelica Houston is Angelica Houston.
She's a goddess.
So, yeah,
goddess.
I mean, there is not one point in their film careers that I feel like they're not relevant.
So just tell everybody how many times you've seen this.
I've seen this a total of 2 times, and that was the 2 times that I watched for this episode. To nobody's surprise, actually to my own surprise. Because I was watching it, I had seen all the clips. I guess I had seen like things here and there, and maybe I created a false memory thinking I've seen it once. But most things I just see once, and I don't have a lot of rewatch movies. And then when I was watching, I go, wait, I actually haven't seen this. I'm going to disappoint Laura once again.
No, never.
So I did the thing that we did with The Knight's Tale, where I watched it first time for the vibe, and then I watched it again to like see if like my notations that I was trying to actively not think about the first time I was watching would come back around, and they did. And then I had a couple questions too that you were able to address. And I go, I have a couple of like asinine questions, and you said, "Let me get." Like I didn't even have to tell you.
It's like bam, bam, bam. I know the answer. I know the answer to the questions. Absolutely. And let's address these questions right up front. The questions that Jess asked. Jess, what did you ask?
I didn't understand why. Well, it really was like, how is Danielle? So Drew Barrymore plays Danielle. Danielle is, for this reimagining of Ever After, is Cinderella. And they say that she's a servant. She's just a peasant. She's the help. But I didn't understand because at the beginning of the movie, she was her father's child. They had all this land. Her father married a baroness. So in my awareness, and I'm no historian by any means, I was always under the impression a baroness would also marry somebody with a title. So I assumed that Danielle, Drew Barrymore's character, had a title, and then she was just being treated this way because of the whole stepmother story that we know that comes with Cinderella. That was not the case.
Well, it's okay. It's wild, right? So this came out in 98. What were you doing in 98? Like, I don't even know. But I feel like this is the same situation as Mean Girls, right? Like, it's flipped. I hadn't seen Mean Girls all the way through, but I'd seen all the all the things. I've seen it, on TV, but I'd never seen it unedited. This is kind of the same for you. Yeah. You've seen all the clips, the thing, like Just Breathe, all the stuff, right? All this stuff.
And we looked back to see like what pop culture things were happening in 98 to just kind of see like where our points of like where were we as individuals at that points in our lives.
that is a whole other episode, what was going on in 1998. But we are talking about this movie, and let's talk about the Brothers Grimm. And I want to start by, tipping my hat to Mr. Roger Ebert here. He says, Danielle's attitude towards her dilemma is closer to modern feminism than to the cheerful sexism of the Brothers Grimm. And I find that an interesting way to open, because we do open, there's a nice framework here, nice little bookend story of the Brothers Grimm talking to the great-great-great-granddaughter of Danielle, saying that they got the story of Cinderella wrong. And this is set in France, but you'd never know it.
But I feel like that happens with any type of movie that, just like the accents alone.
What accent?
Well, that's true.
My God.
But I'm saying, every time that you have, I say, quote unquote, placed in a different time period or location, everybody always has a British, quote unquote, I'll say accent. Because then, I was thinking of The Great, that's on Hulu. We're in Russia. Nobody's talking with that Russian accent.
No. But I feel like that's different here. But Drew, bless Drew. First of all, let's say Drew looks angelic here. She is glowing. She's just stunning. And the way that the story is, her face shape and the way that they kind of frame shots around her is just gorgeous, right? She is just gorgeous here, but what is she trying? She's not trying to do an English accent because that's not that. It's
she's trying something.
Utopia. No, but we must work together. The prince, he's so irritating. I mean, that's about right.
Yeah.
I mean, no hate. Accents are hard. I can't do one, obviously, but damn, damn when it was just whatever. I do feel like it's a little bit like Taika recently, where he's just I looked up Blackbeard, saw what his accent was, tried it, sounded dumb, decided to do my own accent.
Taika can do no wrong.
So we're opening with the Brothers Grimm. We're opening with a framework story. The portrait, of course, is there. We have a little shot of the glass slipper. The glass slipper, I did my research on this. The glass slipper was designed by Ferragamo. Throwing it out there.
Oh.
As was the dress. Yeah.
That's, one of the notes that I had for this, I go, her glass slipper reminds me of Momo New York, the one designer that we really like. And that aligns with his style. But I'm thinking of, obviously, it's 20-something years later, with the intricacies. Because a lot of the Ferragamo stuff is not as intricate now.
Yep. Now. Yeah. Isn't that crazy? I was just oh, my goodness. That is very interesting. In the original Cinderella, that slipper is fur, right? That's a translation thing.
Yeah, I saw that. I watched this on Amazon Prime. Where did you watch this?
Probably also Amazon.
Yeah, that's where I didn't even know that the original translation had anything to do with fur until I had that little pop-up fun fact section that came up with watching this.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things about Cinderella, because, weird, right? Weird.
So
just
quirky.
Yeah. It's just one of those things.
But honestly, if it makes sense when you don't have heaters back then, having fur shoes is very we have it with Uggs.
Yeah, palaces were drafty. I get it. I totally get it. We have Danielle here being dressed up, right? Because her dad's coming home with a new wife and a new sisters, and she's so excited. This part breaks my heart. Obviously, I should put out there, I've seen this a fuck ton of times, just a million times. I have it on VHS. Okay, I'm throwing it out there. I have it on VHS at my mom's house. This is a fact. This breaks my heart. She's so excited for this new family, right? And it is so heartbreaking knowing what happens, but watching it happen too. I don't know. It's this whole thing.
I mean, and she even says it's like Christmas. Yeah. And I feel like so many kids love that love Christmas. It's this whole day that you get like a bunch of excited, like it's the excitement. You get to be with family, you get to be with loved ones. There's like, for, you know, some places, like for some people in some cultures, like gifts are involved. So like, however you celebrate that specific holiday, knowing the connotation that goes there of like that level of excitement, and you're already going into this, watching it, knowing the story of Cinderella, that's not going to be the case. Like right up front, you know, you're like, oh, this poor girl, she doesn't even know.
Yeah, she doesn't even know. She does not know that her dad is going to fall down dead in front of her. Every good story starts with a parent death. I don't know why that has to be, but we're all superheroes. Okay, anyway, we get the signs, right? His arm is stiff.
He has a heart attack, yeah.
Yeah, he's like touching, you know, he's grabbing all the left arm kind of stuff, falls down dead. Angelica here, Miss Angelica, Auguste, do not leave me here. Auguste, do not leave me here. Really sets the tone for how it goes, because she doesn't want to be there. And just make sure everybody knows it.
And now she's stuck. Yeah, it wasn't like, oh my gosh, you. And because even when like his last words to his daughter are, I love you.
Love you.
He's not looking at her.
She's right there.
She's right. She's not looking at, Rudmilla is her name, Angelica Houston's character. He's looking at Danielle the entire time. Yeah.
And she kind of blames her for this. Forever, obviously. Issues. But it I don't know. That whole dynamic is really wild. Damn. But another dynamic that I really enjoy, I enjoy the dysfunction between Henry, Francis, and the Queen. I think the three of them are very funny together. It's just funny. They're just funny.
So Henry is the prince, just you haven't watched that.
Yeah, like Prince Henry. They're just so funny together. The King says one of my favorite lines in the whole movie. It's just hysterical. But we get here that Danielle is 18. That is like she's like a set age here. She's 18. She sleeps by the fire. You know, Cinderella. Do we love their meet cute?
I love their, like, who doesn't love it's enemies to lovers right away. But it's not even that, because, you know, and you find out later in the film where I feel like she's just like stumbling with her words with her stepmother, because she's like, oh, I didn't realize who he was. That wasn't the case. He had a hood on. The second that hood came off, she realized exactly who he was. She's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, blah, blah, blah. Of course, there is not a doubt that, of course, she's chucking apples at him, that she has a good aim. She's been kicking ass and taking names since she was 8 years old, younger, because you find out later in the film that, like, her father was a very talented swordsman. He's been training her whole life, which means she has constantly been training since she basically could walk and hold her sword, because she's still so well adept at 8 years old when he passes. She's kicking Gustav's ass, who is her best friend, who is kind of like has kind of an apprenticeship with Da Vinci. Like,
there's a lot of tropes here, actually, because it's like enemies to lovers at first. It's like mistaken identity. It's there's
a my wife trope. You know, I love that.
Yeah.
He was like, I don't think you've met, like, and there's an ellipsis when you have the captions on. He goes, my wife. Yes, like, just like, I love that part. I love that stupid trope.
There's a miscommunication, because she tries to tell him and can't. You know, there's miscommunication, and there's betrayal. There's a big betrayal, public betrayal. Oh,
there's the center of attention ballroom scene, where there's the spotlight, and she's like, breathe, just breathe, and all eyes are on her. There's the arranged marriage,
arranged marriage trope. There's so many, and there's the I have power and I don't want it trope, because he doesn't want to be king.
There's the one horse trope, where she's like. That was really fun, because it reminded me of when he was dropping her off. It was like, drop me off at the corner. I don't need everybody to see.
Yeah.
Just let me out here. Just let me out here. Here's fine.
Let's talk about the Stepsisters, because the Stepsisters are, they are characters, right?
Yeah.
Marguerite and Jacqueline. Marguerite, whoa, I'm going to say turbo bitch. Whoa, damn. Yeah. Jacqueline, you do feel like sympathy for as the movie goes.
Yeah, I feel like rewatching it the second time, because the first time I was just annoyed. I was like, ugh, You're so, like, even though you're not, like, the mean, quote unquote, mean stepsister, you're also not a good one. But given the circumstances, you take a step back and you're like, Angelica Houston is not a good parent, clearly like a narcissistic parent. It's almost, because even there's a point in the scene, Jacqueline, when Danielle is hurt, she got whipped for disobeying, and she's like helping put salve on and taking care of her. She makes the comment of, well, you kind of did this to yourself. And it's, and she's trying to, it almost seems like a survival technique, I would say, that Jacqueline's using under this parenting. You know, it's like, how do I have my own opinions, but also in survival mode of trying to appease this like awful parent who's just treating me like shit all the time. Like, from start to go, you hear it from, like, her mom doesn't want her to be the one flirting or talking with the prince. She doesn't, you know, even when she tries to speak up to say, like, that's not what you were saying. Like, this is Danielle's stuff. And then they try to even pivot the saying, like, oh, well, she stormed out because she doesn't want you to wear it. When really, no, she doesn't believe anything that you're saying, but she doesn't have a safe space to say it. And
not only does she not have a safe space to say it, I have to feel like Jacqueline has been, like, bullied by her mom and then bullied by Marguerite her whole life. Like, so from, like, both sides, right? Like, bullied by the mom, you go to your sister for comfort. Bullied by the sister. There's no man in their life, right? We have to assume that the Baroness, her first husband, is out of the picture. So she was broke, and that's why she married down and married Danielle's dad, Auguste, who also, like, fucking died. And now she
used all the money that he would have inherited, too.
She used all the money.
All they had, really, was, like, the tangible items, because they even talk about Danielle's dowry, which is just what's in the chest.
Right.
Which is her mother's stuff. Her
mother's stuff, yes. Yeah. And Maurice, one of the servants, was sold to pay off the debts. And we learn that, what is her name? Rodmilla. She sold off candlesticks and tapestries and all sorts of shit to pay off her debts. And she sold him to Monsieur Lepieu, in like this like big scheme. This big fucking scheme is like really absolutely wild. There is a pretty girl trope here, which I think is really fun. There's a nice reveal of when Danielle has to go get Maurice. I say chooses to go get Maurice, right? And she's with Gustave, and she's like, I have to put on this dress and everybody's gonna know, and he's like, no one's gonna be looking at your feet, let me do your hair. And there's like a reveal, right? And she looks like so gorgeous as she's like walking and everything. Really love that.
It feels like it's a mini, like a novella bookend situation, because at the beginning of the movie you have Gustave saying, like, what are you doing? You look like a girl. And she's just like, I am a girl. And he goes, but she goes, I can still kick your ass. Like, bring it. And she does. And her dad just like, I also love that her dad, like, you could tell that he raised a girl who could carry her own, and it wasn't, she has to be a certain way, like the stepsisters were when they came out of the carriage, and they were like saying Mademoiselle and like curtsying and bowing, and that's just not Danielle's thing. That's not her shtick. She wants to kick ass, take names, and prove everybody wrong.
Yeah, for real. And she does, and she absolutely does, and she does it in good clothes. And I love that pearl, like, hairnet that she's wearing. Gorgeous. I love this banter that she has with Prince Henry, too. She's, like, quoting Sir Thomas More. She's, like, real into it. And he's like, Utopia, it's just, like, dull. I found it with the servants. Like, all this crazy stuff. I really, really like it. But did you notice that he was like, what is your name? What is your name? And finally, he's like, any name. And when he says, give me any name, she goes, the only name I'll give you is, and she gives her mom's name.
Mom's name.
Yeah, which is just so, like, I mean, it reminded me of like a Jude situation. That is what Jude would do. She'd be like, oh, okay. Okay,
Any
you
name?
said any name. Oh, okay, then I will give you any name. Because that's bad bitch. That's bad bitch energy. I love it. The king says my favorite line here when he's talking to Prince Henry about like arranged marriages and like privilege and like all this stuff. He goes, then I will simply deny you the throne and I will live forever. And then his face afterwards, he's like, yeah, that. I'll do that. It's so fucking funny. I love it so much. And it's just...
I heard that. I was like, oh, Laura would live for this. You're like, oh, you don't want the throne? Fine by me. You would be the king. I'll live forever. I'll have the... Okay. And Henry's like, bye.
It's so funny. And the queen is like, sit down, the two of you. Jesus Christ. Like, good God. It's just so good. It's so good. I just love the delivery of that line. He's like, duh, he's so flustered. I just get it. But then it's like, 5 days. There's going to be a ball. There's a whole thing. It's like, all right, we got a timeline. 5 days. I like it.
And he does say eventually, he's like, look, I calm down. I'm not as emotional, but here are your contingencies. I will be open to the conversation of you choosing who you want to marry. But if you don't have that, I'm giving you this choice. However, if you don't give me anybody, we do have to go and, set up this arranged marriage for you, politics, blah, blah, blah. And that eventually happens. What a journey. What a journey.
How do you feel about the fat shaming here?
I fucking hated it. Time and time again between and she's not fat.
No.
And I didn't do the thorough enough research about this specific point in time for this movie where, there are points of time in history where being, I don't want to say overweight, when you are not, you have curves and are thick, it meant that you had wealth because you are able to indulge on food and luxuries. That's one point in time. But I also know that this was the 90s, so I didn't know if that's why we were leaning that way, but also between the commentary of, Jacqueline would be putting on a dress and she's like, it's actually a little bit tight. If you cannot breathe, you cannot eat. That was the first line where I go, oh my gosh. And then every time I was talking about a party, she's like, well, you're just going for the food anyway. And I was... As somebody who went to work 3 times this week because my meal was paid for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, you could get me anywhere food is involved. So that was very personal to me.
It's like, yeah, attack.
Get me to leave the house.
I mean, gosh, there's nothing wrong with going for free food. You bring us to the scene, though, where Marguerite and Jacqueline and the Baroness, Miss Angelica, are opening the box that has Danielle's dowry in it, and she goes like, waste not, want not, because they're trying to find a dress to wear that isn't blue because Henry's favorite color is blue, so
everybody else is gonna
like fair, like totally fair. But the look on Drew's face when they say like, oh, you can come, we're just airing out your dress, you can come, we want you to come, is just heartbreaking. It is heartbreaking to me because that's all she really wants is to be in the family, because she says that later at the very end. It's like, didn't you love me at all? But it's like, oh my God. And she's so hopeful.
It wasn't about going to the party. It was about being included. And you can tell that that's clearly one of the many traumas that she has been dealing with growing up in that household. I can't say in that family because that's not what it is, but in that household.
Yeah, in that household. Who isn't in that household, though, is Da Vinci, and I love this lake scene. This whole lake scene.
I want a pair of water shoes.
Right? I was like, oh my God, do those work? Please, somebody has to, I don't know. 98, I wonder if they Mythbusted this. But the shot of Drew in the water like this, I believe that was used a lot in the trailer. I remember seeing it over and over and over again. I just remember thinking she looks gorgeous with her hair, right? Oh, so nice.
Isn't so timeline wise, I think I was confused. I go, how is this girl swimming in a lake? She has a party to get to tonight. But I guess, talking, I was like, wait, second time around, no, there's no party yet.
She's with the pig. She's looking for truffles. Did you see that?
Capitalized exclamation point, truffle pigs. I love a truffle situation.
We love the truffle.
And it was like a nice pig because like sometimes pigs can be super aggressive. Like, so to know it was like a nice pig and they were just casually getting truffles, knowing how much a truffle is worth. She's just casually holding these.
Yeah, she's like, oh, my apron. Oh, it's fine. It's fine. It's fine. My next note here is old-timey tennis is weird. That is my note because old-timey tennis is freaking weird. It's like racquetball, right? Like,
and because I was thinking rubber wasn't invented, so it was just like plopped. There was no bounce factor.
It was just a boom, boom, boom. Yeah, kind of wild. That whole tennis thing was pretty crazy. But then we get the market scene with our introduction to Le Pew, and he's like, I'm very well endowed. ... My lands. It's like, ew.
Everything about him gave me such the Duke vibes from Moulin Rouge. He was we were just like cringe. I was uncomfortable, and I'm not even in the movie. Like, this isn't a real. I can't say it's not a real scenario or situation. It is very real scenario and situation in life every day. It's just you're irked seeing it on screen. Everything he's saying, his appearance, like the euphemisms. You just know he's waiting to assault her.
Yeah, very gross. Also very gross is the subtle fat shaming that happened when Henry is feeding Marguerite chocolate. Did you catch that?
Yeah, and her mom don't even, like, pulled her back and said, don't even think about it.
Yeah, it's just like, screw you, God. Okay, now I want to talk about the most vulnerable scene between the Baroness and Drew.
Okay.
This scene really gets me. It gets me because Angelica is a fantastic actress, right? She has tears shining there. She's really feeling it when she's like, sometimes I can see your father
in your eye,
like looking out through your eyes. The Baroness is talking about the potential engagement of Marguerite to Prince Henry. That is what everybody is working for. And no one knows, besides the other servants and Gustav, that Danielle is like a thing with the prince because they have kind of a thing, right? Right?
Yes, I have a comment about that after you finish.
Okay. So that is the background here. So when Danielle is like brushing her hair, and then her mom is like, or Angelica is like, can you imagine like Paris in the winter? Like, no, of course you can't. Like, and then she's like, come here. Sometimes I see your dad looking out from your eyes. Sometimes, kind of wonder what it would be like. And then she's like, but she gets a hold of herself. She's like, but you have such masculine features. You're built for hard labor. This is what you were meant for. It's just like, whoa. But like the whole time she's saying that, she's got tears in her, like shining tears. So it's just like, why? And it goes back to what I said in the very beginning, like that she kind of blames Danielle for this because of the, like, I love you, Danielle. And she was like right there. Because in this situation, it is so clear that all Danielle wants is like a hug or like some sort of something. And the Baroness is feeling the emotions. Like we can see them on her face, but she still is just going to cut her the fuck down. And it's like, damn, that is some deeply toxic bullshit. That is so hard to like break from because she does desperately want that approval.
Yeah.
And it is so close. She gets so close.
You can tell she thinks that this is going to be the moment that's going to bridge them after 10 years.
Like they're holding hands. They're like eye to eye, like looking at each other. Like they're both emotional.
And Angelica's like glossy eyed.
Yeah. And then it's just like, bam. Just like a straight like wall comes down. And you're just like, fuck. Well, I know for me, that would have like shattered me. Because like, oh my gosh, Drew, what an actress. What an actress, Miss Drew. A question that I had that was answered for me was, how is the prince like showing up at their house all the time, and how are they like going to the palace all the time? But it is answered right after that when they are in the fields, because Gustav is painting the freaking palace, and they're just like in the fields underneath it. I'm just like, oh,
I didn't even pick up on that. I knew that he was painting when she at the kite scene.
Yeah,
that's what he's. Okay, well, I don't feel stupid because I've only watched this twice.
Yeah, no.
So I'm like, wait, what? I knew he was painting. I knew he was kind of like under a different type of tutelage-ish. I think that it was just like a fondness, really, towards Da Vinci. But we knew he was a painter. He was practicing his craft. Like, he was always looking out the window, like during the, pretty girl change scene. That does make sense. But I also feel like it's a small kingdom if they're always like, they could, the property has to be small too, because in that scene when Gustav is like, oh, I think she's at the house by herself, and he's on horseback, that girl ran.
She ran. But my note is that she's always running. It's like she's a companion.
How did she got there on her own two legs?
She's hauling ass.
Before him, who is on a fucking horse that's galloping.
And she got changed and dressed. Yeah.
Like,
hauling ass. Damn. But it pays off, right? It pays off.
Yeah, because she gets her night out on the town / woods with the prince. Their carriage breaks down. They have to go hiking. She scales a mountain wall for whatever reason. I can't remember why they scaled.
They needed directions.
Oh, she needed, like, wait, we were lost. Okay.
Yeah.
So she needed a vantage point. Then they meet up with the gypsies that had attacked him earlier.
Their word, not ours. We're using their language in the movie. This is what they refer to themselves as in the movie.
Thank you. And he gets punched by them.
Yeah, he does.
And Drew holds her own too for the most part until she has a knife to her neck. Then they make agreeances, and then we have the line. She goes, you took all this stuff away from me. At least, like, I need something to go back home. And they said, you can take whatever you can carry. She goes, anything I could carry, anything you can carry. Who doesn't love doubting women, right? And she goes, bet.
Wait, can I pause? I will pause and tell you that moment reenacts a medieval legend recounting the time German King Conrad III placed the castle of Weinsberg under siege, and women inside negotiated their release. The king promised that they could take whatever they could carry, so they carried out their husbands, much to their amusement. Like the king, the bandit leader proves to be true to his word and even offers Danielle and Henry a horse.
And we'll also put links in our show notes,
all the links.
Where we've found some of this information.
All the links, yes.
So I just love that little nod, additional nod to feminism and empowering women in this retelling, that it's not just strictly Cinderella-esque. It's just kind of pulling from little things in history, or pulling, who knows if Da Vinci had those water shoes? I didn't look it up, but now I want to.
Yeah, no, it's super fun. And then, they kiss, and he's like, meet me at the ruins tomorrow. I'll wait all day. It's like, of course, you're a prince. You have nothing else to do.
What else are you doing? You already complained that, what a perfect example. He's literally not doing anything.
Yeah.
Drew comes into the place and tells him that he should be doing this stuff. You should be, if you're sending people to the Americas, you should be compensating them, or you should be releasing them so they can be people of your land. And she's the one who's all these political decisions that he's making is because she gave it to him. You should be doing this. You should be doing X, Y, and Z. And he does X, Y, and Z. And that comes up at dinner because she's obviously not in the social circles the way her stepmom and stepsisters are. So when they're talking about it at breakfast one morning, she goes, he did not. Sorry, I realized I'm out of place. But she couldn't believe that he took what she said to heart. and like acted upon it too.
Yes, that is key. And that is something that a lot of people really praise this movie for, like, because Prince Charming does not have a personality like in Cinderella, right? He's very bland. He's very whatever. But like Henry gets told off a lot, right? He's got the banter with Danielle. He's got like pushback from his parents. Like there's stuff going on, and he takes the criticism from Danielle, and then throughout the movie we see him like think about it, implement it, and then eventually like get his own ideas, right? And that ends with the university, like that, you know. But the praise comes from Prince Charming is independently like doing the work on his own. Like he's been inspired, obviously, and that's like a trope in and of itself. But like the stuff that he does, she doesn't even know about and is told like separately in that perfect example that you bring up. So that is one of the reasons it's like they're on like separate paths that like touch, you know, and each time they touch, he goes off and like implements the ideas.
That being said, he's still kind of a fuckboy in the beginning.
Oh,
like,
totally.
Like he comes up to the house. He's like, "Oh, you've grown." And at first, I thought he was just being okay. I'm a prince. I'm being pleasant. But that clearly wasn't the case when he was looking at Marguerite and like her cleavage and where she has the brooch. Because with Jacqueline, she was doing the same thing with the feather and got no attention. Then when they were playing like tennis, she's the only person who's not behind the tennis net, gives him the tennis ball, and they're like, she's complimenting him like, "Oh, the tennis looks well on you." She's like, "You could look at me all you want," and he's all flustered, and then he's feeding her chocolate after. And then it almost seems that, you know, Danielle, and the pseudonym he knows her as is Nicole, she's not even a thought on his mind when Marguerite is around. And then when they're walking through the market and he doesn't think, he does see Danielle and she dipped, all of a sudden she's at the forefront of his mind again. So boys are stupid.
Boys are stupid. Boys are stupid.
She threw the apple at him. She met him at the lake. They've met already time and time. She saved Maurice, and he still hasn't connected the dots.
Boys are dumb. Boys are dumb. Women though are not dumb. So let's talk about another punch that Danielle throws straight into Marguerite's face when she walks in and sees them wearing the dress.
Oh, yeah. I would have done the same fucking thing, especially when Marguerite, when she's like, "That's my mother's." Like, "What are you like, that's mine. That has no significance to you." And she goes, "Well, your mother's dead."
Yeah.
Thrown hands.
Like, and we're done.
Camera work wise, that was all in one shot. I was like focused on that the second time around. And then you had to pick the shoes or the book. And then she still threw the book in the fire.
She still threw the book. See, because there is nothing in the world that would have held me back after she threw the book in anyway.
Yeah.
I'm a violent person. That would have, my God. Oh, that whole thing is just, and then she gets whipped because they're like, you know, your display, because she wouldn't make breakfast in the morning because she was tired. She was all out all night with the gypsies. And Henry she's like, "Boil water," and that whole exchange. She's like, "Jacqueline, you know, go boil some water," and Jacqueline's like, "I fucking knew it. I knew I would be next." It's just like, oh my God.
Well, the whole time it was just like, you can do it yourself. It's not that fucking hard.
Yeah, it's not that fucking hard. Something that is very hard, God damn it, is a bee. Marguerite's temper tantrum with the queen is so funny to me. But okay, when we are recording this, it is a Sunday. I got stung by a bee on Tuesday. It was so painful, and my foot swelled up so bad. It is just now normal. So
this is how Laura found out that she has an allergic reaction to bees.
Sensitivity to bees. It hurt like shit. But Marguerite freaking out and then coming back to the table and being like, "I saw a bee," is something that I would absolutely do because I'm hyper aware of them now. I'm just like, oh my God. So I would be screaming. But that whole thing is really funny. And I do like how they show throughout the film that Marguerite is just like nuts, right? Like she screams and the Baroness does comment on it. She's like, what does a lady say about voice and tone? She's like, I was resonant. A courtier knows the difference. It's like, oh my God, no, you're just like screaming. Tell me about this ruins scene, because like men don't shut up, right? Read the room.
That's my note. And I was like, you want to get pissed at her at the party. She has tried to tell him time and time again, and he wouldn't like let her fucking talk. I felt like he was mansplaining to him, and then he wants to get pissed at her that she didn't. She tried to tell him. You wouldn't shut up, and it wasn't just like a one. I tried one. In Sex and the City, the movie, where Carrie's like, well, when did you try to tell me? And she's like, I tried to Miranda, and Miranda's like, I tried to tell you once. And Carrie gets mad at her. He goes, you should have tried to tell me all the time, like not just once and done. And that's what Danielle was doing. She was trying to tell him. He wouldn't shut up. First thing when she saw him, she's like, if I don't get this out, it's not going to come out. And he wouldn't be quiet. Like, why wasn't he shutting up? He just wanted to hear his own voice? I don't know. I understand the whole movie. I understand this whole thing. But it was the first time, and, I agree with the whole, like, the princess saves herself thing. Because, my God, he is not a good book boyfriend, movie, I kind of hope he died and then she stayed queen.
Yeah, Jess, you and I were talking about this earlier. Big ick for me is this Henry here. Too old, in my personal opinion, for Drew. That's my personal opinion. He just looks like busted next to her, like angelic gorgeousness. I just don't know what it is. I was never a fan. Still not. But if we have to pick a Prince Charming representation, I guess he's the best one because he talks. He talks because he won't shut up. He won't. We can't have everything. But he does.
Good thing, like the focus isn't about him in this movie. It's about her.
Yeah,
so.
He is not the focus at all. My note here is he won't listen, hugs her, and she pushes away. She's like, "Ow!" And that was so heartbreaking. Like, oh my god. But I really love in the next part when Drew Barrymore just screams at Marguerite that she's a spoiled, selfish cow. I love it so much. It's just like, yes. Oh my God. You tell her. That's just,
this is like years of just, and it's almost like she's almost getting to that point of realizing this idea in her head of trying isn't going to happen. No matter how much she tries, nothing's going to come out of it because they will never see her the way she has hoped to see them.
Yeah, and then they lock her in the freaking cellar. They lock her in the cellar and they go to the ball. And here's another fat shaming thing. We have Jacqueline as the horse.
Yeah.
And Marguerite is the peacock. And what is she? She has horns. Do you know what she is?
I thought it was like I don't think maybe like
was it anything
antelope or something. I thought it was maybe. I didn't think it was really anything. It just gave me Maleficent vibes.
Yeah, Maleficent vibes. That's what I thought as well. And she's like, you're only going for the food. That's the other. That's the big. Yes,
again,
and you're only
same.
going for the food.
Would have done it too. Don't even want the prince. Not even that cute.
I have to say that horse mask is gorgeous.
Yeah, it's really
it was
pretty.
like black and like mesh and like see-through with the detailing on it. Like that was a really pretty like horse, like whatever.
But then she finds the prince's friend is also dressed like a horse, and they're flirting with
and
horse
they're just
sounds.
like horse sounds. It's so cute. I said my note is both horses at the buffet. They're adorable. I really like the father and son kind of communication that we have before the ball. I thought it was like interesting, and it like didn't need to be like it didn't need to be there.
And in general, you don't see that portrayed, especially in fairy tales so often.
Yeah, it was just really nice. And he was like, we don't have to do this. It doesn't have to be like a good idea. This whole thing, it It was just really good. I also like how Da Vinci breaks out Danielle. He just takes the door off the hinges, like thinking out of the box.
But part of it, I think, is just because, and I can't remember if we said it in this episode, I know we were talking about it beforehand, is that we know, I think people forget that Da Vinci is also an inventor. And he was just always exploring, and we know him as an artist. So, like, he's understanding these mechanics and, quote unquote, thinking outside of the box, because you know that was something like, how does this door stay together? How does this hinge work? Oh, this is held together. You know, there was just like a methodical amount of steps that have gone through his head. He created wings, you know, like in kites and all this fun stuff. So I enjoyed that part. I enjoyed that he was the one calling the prince out, you know, and that the prince considered him a friend as well. It's like, you fucked up. You did this to yourself. And don't sit and act like you're this martyr because she tried to tell you and you didn't fucking let her.
Da Vinci, the wings that he builds her are similar to his flying invention wings. Did you notice it's like the same kind of shape? He loves those. And the way that she is lit, can we just talk about the glitter? The glitter. I was like, okay.
You're sold. I was half expecting you to be coming onto this episode with
just
glitter, to be in the vibes.
Oh my gosh, it was just amazing. And it's like breathe. And she's got the jewels and the wings and the glitter. It's just amazing. I hate this ball. Is that a hot take? I hate this ball. It is ugly. The Ariel is ugly. It is not like pretty to the eye, and it's very short because nothing freaking happens because she shows up and Angelica tears her down immediately.
I mean, that's the one time where Marguerite was even confused. She's like, where are we going? She didn't even think, like, tearing her stepsister down she wasn't even aligned with, you know how sometimes when we talk about Electric Idol and how Psyche is in line with Demeter and her thoughts, she's like, I don't know what's going on, but like, I know there's something there and we're kind of on the same wavelength. I feel like that's typically how it is with Marguerite and Romdilla in this, but in this movie. However, at the ball, that's not what happened.
I would have been screaming. Like, Danielle has a lot more composure here. I know she's like shocked to her core and like embarrassed and like in front of everybody, but I would have been like, no, fuck you. Like, I would have lost my absolute shit. Like, no turning around. Like you took me down. I'm taking it all. Like, we're all going now. Let's go.
Which is why I love that as like everybody was kind of pulling the pieces together at the end of the movie where the king and queen invite Romdilla and Marguerite and Jacqueline, like calling her out. You knew this. You had us chasing our tail. You knew who she was. You lied to the queen. You can be sentenced to death, you know? And I love like who she did. And then the other problem that I had with the back and forth of it, she's like, oh, I only would do anything. I only did what a mother would do for her daughters. As somebody who has had a step parent in the past, to not be considered a daughter, like, so that would have been my fireback. So you don't consider this person that your husband, it was your husband's, you're a widow, your husband died, you don't consider her your daughter. Red flag number one. Now I don't even want you in my fucking family. You know, like I would have, like, that's already a red flag to me. But then I love in such a composed way where, again, like you said, Danielle is classier than I could ever be. Where she goes, I only wish her the same kindness she's bestowed upon me. We all know what that meant.
Yeah, that's a fucking death sentence.
Yeah, but I would say I wouldn't want to give her death because that would be too easy on her.
Yeah, fucking work for it. She's like, I will speak for, in her accent, I will speak for her. Something like that.
I love that moment though. The moment they were all like, fuck. I do love that they like rushed the wedding. They're like, we're not waiting. We're doing
my
this.
wife.
Is she considered a princess then? Or is she like, is it very much like the magicians where you have high king, like king, high king, queen, high queen? Because that was kind of like the layout I was getting by this point in the movie.
Well, that's a really, really fantastic point that you make, because I have a note on that because I had a question about it as well. Because when when the Baroness is tearing off the wing and Marguerite is like, Mother, what are you doing? She goes, I'm making you a princess. She doesn't say, I'm making you a queen. And I was just like, oh, okay. Okay. So that's the answer to that. I also had that.
So I guess it was going to be like one of those formal, assuming like the transitions.
Yeah.
And, okay.
And then it has to be like a whole thing.
Transitions, coronation. I was like, what's the word?
Well, Danielle saves herself here. We have to point this out. And the Baroness sells her to pay the debts because she assumes that Marguerite is going to be queen now. And she sells her to Le Pew. Le Pew gives back everything that the Baroness had sold to him. So it's a fair exchange, right?
Well, Angelica Houston even says, like, this stuff is worth more than her.
Yeah, really throws her under the fucking bus.
Yeah.
Just
after they've already gone through the whole, like, you know, everything happens. Danielle's, like, weeding away in the yard. Angelica's, like, just kind of, what's the word that I'm looking for? Berating her.
Yes.
Like, what you want? Like, what the fuck do you want? Like, it's
Get out
over.
of my way.
And then when she goes, did you ever love me? Like, was any of this real? You know, and you could tell in that moment she was still trying to be like hopeful that there was some sort of like emotional attachment there to this only mother figure that she's had her life, because her mother, you know, died during childbirth, I assume. And she goes, can you ever love a pebble in your shoe? Like, fuck, man.
Brutal.
Get me out of here. Like, and that's how it ends, basically, till she finds out she's been sold for things.
To the end. Like, it's crazy.
Give me back my things, and you can have, because, you know, women are property then.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely wild. I love that Danielle frees herself. Drew Barrymore loves that Danielle freed herself. As of 2006, Drew Barrymore said that this was her favorite role. So there's that. And then Henry comes to save her as she's walking out. You know, fuck you. I don't need you. And he says, like, I beg your forgiveness. I betrayed you. I broke your trust. I kneel before you.
Yep.
You know, it's like, yes, get down, kneel, stay in the mud.
I love, like, a kneeling. Yes, you will be on your knees for me.
Yep.
You will beg for my forgiveness. It's the same thing with Kingdom of Ash, spoiler, Adian with Lysandra, but you know how I feel about, you know, I have a very hot take on their relationship. Like, I just don't, I won't go down that path, but I do agree that men should grovel more often than not.
Way more often.
But I love that he was even like, when she's like walking out, and also like great swordsmanship from her, and the fact that he just gave the key over, I was still expecting him to be like, gotcha. Like, I was expecting him to be lying in that moment. I wasn't expecting the handoff to the key that easily for him to say like the key to your freedom or something. But then when Prince Henry comes, he goes, I'm here to save you.
Yeah, he was like,
but clearly that's not needed.
Yeah,
so,
not needed.
I love the confusion. Again, boys are dumb.
Boys are dumb. It's just, and then the end is so good. I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, that the necklace that Danielle is wearing is the same one that Marguerite returned to the queen that was stolen from the Baroness's spy. I believe that is a connection. I believe. Someone tell me. And then, of course, the end is the Brothers Grimm, like, walking out of the castle and being like and then the voiceover, of course, is the point, gentlemen, is that they lived, which I thought was very nice because it is, of course, ever after. There's some, like, timing things. Of course, like, we're not looking for historical accuracy here, but there are some timing things here. The Queen makes a joke about divorce and says that divorce is only something that they do in England. However, this movie is set in, like, 1512, and Henry VIII did not ask for a divorce until 1527, so the timing doesn't align.
Oh.
That's fine.
Because that's when divorce started. When
right,
he was like, I just want to keep getting my dick wet.
Yeah, so, like, that's fine. The lead, Dougery, was almost Jude Law, which I thought was really funny. Huh. The chemicals that are used in the washing made people go blind and like die.
Oh.
So it was like a death sentence being sent there. I have all these facts. The main locale used in the movie was the Chateau de Hautefort, the beautiful castle in the Dordogne. And my German and French is my German and French is like bad.
So it was
region.
filmed on location.
Yeah, a lot of it was filmed on location.
Okay.
And then this is I'm just going to read this very quickly. This is from the herculture.org, and the title is "I'm a Feminist and I Think Ever After is the Best Feminist Fairy Tale." So, okay. Here we go. In this case, reading was Danielle's act of rebellion. It constantly fueled her many ways of thinking. The lack of rebelling among the rest of the princesses, this is just like regular Disney princesses, has created a trend depicting women as submissive, ignorant, and helpless creatures. Every time we watch Snow White ignorantly eat that poison apple, or Princess Aurora pick her finger on the spindle of a spinning wheel, we are allowing the world to see women as creatures of weakness. Okay. So I believe Ever After's perfect balance of orthodox patriarchal reforms and the feministic outbursts, that's very difficult to read, is how this movie managed to instill within me, this is the author, not me, a notion to look at the world I live in and question it. Most people today forget to question the happenings around them. Both men and women alike have taken to the phrase "go with the flow" quite literally. Some women still believe that to not change is the way to go. But I, the author, truly can't imagine a world where I did not have the common opportunity as any male to go to school or even read a book. The world has to understand that women can be both princesses and warriors. We are not feeble. We are not weak. We are most definitely not helpless. We can all be Danielle.
I agree with everything except for the fact that Aurora was under a spell.
This is true.
That's my
This is true.
My feedback as somebody like, yes, but hear me out. She literally couldn't stop herself.
This is true. You can take this up with the author. But I thought that was such a nice, like, little article, right? Like, hooray.
But that line is, like, it just aligns with everything that we love about Aelin, that she is a princess and a warrior. She's a fucking queen, not even a princess. She's a queen and she's a warrior. Same thing with Feyre, where she, you know, she was a human and then she's Fae and now she's High Lady. And before all that, she's fighting the Sidra. Sorry, there's a ton of spoilers going on right now. So sorry, everybody. Same thing with Bryce. Like, she is, we know her as a starborn princess, but she's also a fucking warrior. Like, a lot of these, and it's just something that we keep gravitating towards, obviously. And you just hope that more people see that in themselves as well.
Yeah, because, like, this has been out for a while. There's a lot of media out there. This is a really great retelling. We know that, like, Greek gods are the big thing right now. Spice is the big thing right now, but fairy tales are going to come around again, and they always do. So this is something that you can always check out. Drew Barrymore is timeless, and especially now that she's, like, kind of back in the spotlight. She was just at Britney's wedding. Like, you know, everybody loves Drew.
Drew posted on Instagram after Britney's wedding, "What I learned from Ever After is that we must rescue ourselves and yet still want the fairy tale." And that's exactly what Britney did. I could not be happier for this intrepid journey for her. And Laura, did you share the quote? Did you say it earlier and I forgot?
I don't know, but I'll say it again.
Yeah.
So the quote is from a Looper article, and we will, of course, link it. But Drew says in this interview that rescuing yourself is the ultimate fairy tale, and we all want love at the end of the day. We want the prince, but if you can get yourself to the top of the mountain instead of him carrying you up there, then that kiss is all the sweeter. And we love that because it's absolutely right. And Drew, when she was reading the script, she goes, "I thought rescue yourself. That's who I want to be. That's who I need to be in this life." And that is when she was in her 20s and she was trying to, like, kind of figure out what she wanted to do as an actress. So we love that for her. And of course we support Drew.
But it goes with, like you said, it's all timeless, right? I mean, and that's one thing that's great about fairy tales is even if, no matter where we set them, you could have the retellings, you could have the reimaginings, but there are some common core themes, and just seeing them, in these lights, it's so great. I mean, even a Cinderella story retelling, at the end, she wound up saying, you know what, like, fuck you, Austin. Like, I'm not waiting around for you. I'm still going to live my own life. And she did. And she still got, you know, she's like, quote unquote, like, got the guy in the end or whatever. But it's just like reclaiming yourself through all these situations.
Something that isn't timeless is that Utopia wasn't published until 1516. And if we go by this movie, then she was reading it in 1502.
She got an arc? Are you telling me
she got an arc of Utopia? Sir Thomas More was sending them out. She got it years before. She was decades before. Yes. Yeah. So we love that. We love that because we are very on trend, very before trends.
I'm so happy for her. She didn't have a following. She didn't have any socials, and she got the arc. Good on her. See, arcs are for everybody, people.
They are. Arcs are for everybody. Don't ever let anyone tell you any different. It does not matter.
So please feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're at ACOFAE Podcast. We're also both on TikTok, ACOFAE Laura and ACOFAE Jessica. Please feel free to leave a 5-star review wherever your listening platform is, and we look forward to talking to y'all soon. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.